What is freaking happening, traders? God bless each and every single one of you guys. Hope you're having a stand-up freaking day. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and the notification bell. And let's jump straight into the technical analysis on AMC, because we're going to keep this nice, tidy, and sweet for AMC, because today was a big, fat nothing burger on the freaking charts. You can see a 9 million, almost 10 million shares traded day, and that is probably the lowest volume I've ever seen on AMC since we've been covering, except for right here when you did it again, right? 9 million on these red days. So something is becoming very apparent for me, traders, and it's on these freaking red days. You see nothing but low volume, right? And that is overall bullish, regardless of what you're doing in the overall trend. Going down in low volume is typically a very, very bullish thing, right? Bullish consolidation before your next leg higher. And truthfully, you're still within this freaking trading formation, guys. So until you break out in a meaningful way with volume and a weekly close above, guys, nothing else matters, right? You go to the weekly chart, and we covered this a couple different times, but the weekly chart looks freaking phenomenal, right? You're retesting your previous, or not your previous, but your actual 9 EMA on the weekly time frame at 233 now on the weekly. You saw a nice wick off of this, right? The first time you've done this since February of 2021, when you marked your low after the January squeeze. That's what you've done now, right? You've marked your low after this 303 top here, and you've done so on diminishing volume. So my belief is that this volume trend is going to come to a very scary end, right? Whether that be a break up above this range right around $3 to $2.96, or whether that be a break down, right, on high volume for the bears down to this uptrend to potentially get another sweet, juicy, tender loving freaking opportunity, right? Because that's all that is, in my opinion. We called this low. We called this low. And if you did that, right, you would probably fill the gap right around 205, and you would make that fourth tap of this uptrend before what would probably be a smash through the overall range. And inevitably, guys, I'm still remaining significantly bullish on AMC here because of the volume, symmetrical volume, right? You're seeing very good accumulative volume going up, very, very clear diminishing volume down, right? So that is overall bullish. You don't have something like you had here where the overall bearish volume was winning, right? You were getting absolutely clobbered and stomped on down here. And now the trend has reversed, right? Not only has the charting trend reversed, but so has the freaking fundamentals, guys. The fundamentals is completely 180'd, flipped on its head. So that looks amazing. Just for some retrospect, I would not be surprised to see something like this, an 18% weekly candle, just like Bitcoin's having on AMC. I would not be surprised at all to see something like that outside of this handle. And it's a beautiful thing to see risk on assets overall popping off, right? Performing. On the daily time frame, you did reject the 9-day EMA, which we should cover, right? That is an overall bearish thing. You kind of flagged outside of this wedge, failed to hold, closed back underneath, and then closed beneath the 9-day. So even though it was a low volume day, that does potentially mean if you don't see this breakout tomorrow, right? If you don't see that breakout tomorrow, it's likely you sweep the lows and finally get that test of the golden cross like we've been talking about right around that 230 mark. Is where I would expect it to tap, right? Because if you continue to slide down here, it's likely the 50 meets you right along this downsloping support channel. And that, in my opinion, would be a catalyst for a nice sized launch pad to then reverse this thing to Valhalla, right? Would not be surprised to see that at all. And when you take the quick zoom out for a second and you look at the Fibonacci retracement, what we mentioned was your key area to hold was the 50% retracement. That's because cup and handles are oftentimes negated right around that 50% retracement. And where will that come at, right? That's going to come directly on top of, and you've already gotten the wick off of it, right? From this from this wick right here, 232, exactly on top of the 50% retracement, which is why I thought that you may not need to see that overall retrace, and you still might not. But if you double bottom here, guys, in my opinion, it's Jover, right? You are freaking rocketing outside of this cup and handle formation to potentially see this thing go and sweep these highs at 303. So that's what we're watching for the local time frame on AMC. For this potential head and shoulders, I think it looks great. I think you're still, although today was a nothing burger, I think you're still kind of figuring it out, right? Figuring it out on AMC. And that is because, guys, IWM saw a down 1.34% day, which is never good, right? You are expecting the broader market when it goes down, that AMC is going to fall with it. Rising tide sinks all ships. And you can see minus 1.34 on much more rising volume than AMC, and then a cross down on the daily MACD does not spell good for IWM. Alongside that, you have a gap fill currently sitting at 296.66, which you're only $1 away from filling, but it's likely, in my opinion, you also revisit the 50-day EMA, currently trading at 294.78. So if you do something like this, pretty much the exact same thing you did here, right? Consolidating in this falling wedge, tap the 50, spring, consolidate here, come to revisit the 50, spring, and truthfully, that is what you've done every single time, right? Spring off the 50, spring off the 50, spring off the 50, spring off the 50. So it has just been the trend for our risk on assets index that you revisit the 50 and you spring to an all-time high until that breaks. Right? I'm expecting the exact same thing. So that's what we're watching for the broader market. I wanted to cover this fear and greed index because it's always very interesting to see. The stock market is net neutral, so you do have some overall bullish catalysts for AMC as you have a lot of room to grow here. And crypto now sitting in greed for the first time in what feels like forever. So interesting to see. We always say we buy when there's fear and we sell when there's greed, right? That is the overall strategy here to make money. But of course, I'm not a financial advisor. Do not do or act on what I say. Looking at AMC on the weekly. Let's look at TradingView. I've not looked at AMC on TradingView yet, so we're going to kind of improv this. And you can see, guys, you are coming into that test of the RSI band. That's going to be huge, massive on the weekly time frame. As you can kind of consolidate here. 4-hour chart. Continuing to kind of bounce along this all-time resistance. Now flipping his all-time support and continuing, right, to ride along top of this wedge on the 4-hour chart. So that is actually pretty bullish. That looks pretty nice, pretty snazzy. And you just got above the 4-hour RSI band. So you have a unique opportunity to potentially flip this, right, and then bounce off of it and go into overbought territory for the first time since August or July 31st. So it'll be interesting here to see what AMC does tomorrow. How do you close the week? That's probably going to be the biggest thing and one of the biggest week closes we've seen in quite some time to kind of set you up. Are you going to break up here? Are you going to break down for AMC in the macro, right? It's going to be really interesting, actually. Let's check if we can see any bullish divergences on the hourly. $30-minute. Little bit. So you have a little bit of hidden bullish divergence as the price remains relatively flat here, right? But the RSI is spilling over. So that's something to watch here for potential short-term bounce and clearing this downtrend, right? Clear this downtrend tomorrow, and you got yourself a little bit of a wedge here, right? A little bit of a flag formation here that could potentially see AMC see another move, right? And this is your best case scenario probably going into Friday. A move above 260 right into what was our freaking resistance that we called out in our last video, 274, right? So get above 260 Friday, and this thing looks absolutely nasty for Monday's morning open. So that's what I would say our best case scenario here is for AMC, is this potential flag outside of this overall falling wedge. Interesting to see the different timelines, and that's why we want to cover them, right? The weekly looks freaking nasty. The daily could look better, and then the 4-hour chart, the short time chart looks freaking nasty. So IWM still looks like it has some downside though. So do your own due diligence, right? Looking at GameStop here on the daily time frame, guys, got absolutely freaking hammered down yesterday or today morning at open, got hammered down, and you can see close with a beautiful freaking hammer candle on the daily time frame. That's what we like to see, baby, for potential reversal here on GME. And when you look at this overall falling wedge that you've developed on GameStop, you are ever so freaking close to breaking this, guys. So will you break free? Break the shackles, right? Break this freaking downtrend, and I will assume you're going to visit the 9-day EMA, currently sitting at 1850, which, breaking that, traders, in my opinion, gives you that scenario that we talked about in the last video, right? If you want to see GME break the freaking rubber bands, just like Bitcoin is doing right now, you need to see this thing get above this resistance band, right? And then see a little bit of fun occur, right? Because when GME was on oversold territory, going to go to the daily time frame, you're now coming to a point in time in which you're seeing what trend did you tap? No special trend. Now I'm sad. All right, GME's now hitting a point in time in which you're going to touch this RSI band for the first time since back here. Probably tomorrow, right? Tomorrow, Monday, you're going to make that intersection if you continue to kind of chop sideways here. If you see this thing, which I believe you will see a green day tomorrow, potentially a bounce because of this double wicked candle, right? A bearish spinning top and then a hammer candle. Typically two tailing candles like this oftentimes lead to a reversal. And what I'm watching for here is a potential cross above the daily RSI band and a break of this resistance band, right? Breaking this resistance trend and this band are going to lead to an explosive rally higher, right? You could see something actually really, really special from GME potentially, right? If we see that 20% rally we talked about in our last video, guys, if you have not watched that, watch it. We talked about a 20% rally, takes you literally directly into your gap fill here, guys, at 21. What was it? 21.27? 21.66, right? That's going to be your key area to test in this gap fill. That's going to fill your gap, and there's no guarantee that you don't spill back over, but that is your first stepping stone in doing so, right? Break the daily 9 EMA, currently coming down like a freaking tidal wave. Would not be surprised to see you reject that first and then get above it. Or do something like this, right? Maybe you pop out. Good news, $19, retest the 9 and then go. Would not be surprised to see anything of that nature on GME. But one thing is for sure, the bearish volume and the bearish sentiment is beginning to dry up here at $17. It's a no-brainer, in my opinion, for GameStop. And you can see the MACD becoming a little bit of bullishly divergent, right? You can see the overall trend is that the bearish momentum is slowing here. You can also see the price has continued to go down on lowering volume. This is overall bullish, guys. This is screaming to me that GME is about to make a little bit of a rippy. And I would not be surprised to see it tomorrow, right? Especially off of this beautiful Picasso freaking candle, right? This hammer candle looks absolutely scrumptious. Looking at the weekly, not the best candle, right? But you still have 3 weeks of decreasing volume, and that is not nothing, right? If you see this rally come Friday, you're going to see this thing print a potential reversal candle, right? A hanging man, maybe a doji, maybe a bullish hammer. But in order to do that, you would have to get back to open at 1861, which is not out of the realm of possibilities, guys. A 61% move or 61 cent move on GME tomorrow is not out of the picture. Would not be surprised to see that. And on the weekly, that would clear up a lot of freaking things. right? A lot of freaking things. On the 4-hour chart, you could see this falling wedge a little bit better, right? A little bit better. And you can actually see GameStop peaking outside of this falling wedge, which is significantly bullish in my opinion, right? If you take it from this wick to this candle close, candle wick, you're actually above your 4-hour 9 EMA and peaking outside of your wedge. After getting a bullish engulfing on the 4-hour, guys, I think it's going to happen tomorrow. I think GME will probably be green. So good news, right? Not all doom and gloom. Looking at the GME warrants, let's see what is going on my boy Only in Paradise favorite warrants. Absolutely nothing. A green doji. All right, end of story. BBBY warrants? Are those unhalted? Yeah. Yeah. That's insane. That is an insane chart. Okay. Sure. That's cool. Okay. Okie dokie. BlackBerry, still looking good. A little bit of a head and shoulders here. I don't like that. But the market's looking squeezy, guys. I just want to say thank you to everyone who made it this far in the video. Make sure to slap the subscribe button. If you're not already subscribed, it would mean a lot. We're on the road, the quest to 3K, as well as hit the like button because that just helps the algorithm push this channel, helps it push AMC particularly. So until next time, guys, God bless each and every single one of you guys. And remember, traders, the best is yet to come. I'm excited for the candle close. I'll cover our weekly close tomorrow. God bless you all and peace.